All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whoever you are in the world. So this one's going to be I say short, but I have no idea whether or not be. But this is more of an explanation of my lighting setup for the brake lights. So on the back here, I have these basically dot oval lights that you can get almost at any, not hardware store, parts store. It's basically they are your typical dot lights you'd find that you could put on semi trucks. They're very readily available and easy to come by. These ones are dual brake, tail, and turn signal. The center here is orange. But this is more of going to be going over the wiring of this back here for this. So I am basically reusing the factory chassis harness that went from under the cab back there, under the cab, and that comes from two plugs that come from out of the cab to the frame rail, and it follows all the way down the frame rail here to this area right here. Now this truck is extended 1.5 feet, I believe, if I remember correctly, because the frame was chopped here and then extended out because there was a slightly bad section at the back. So it was extended. So eventually this truck will get bedsides on it with the factory taillight on it. I want to keep it that way. But for the time being, to get this truck running and driving, bedsides are the least of my concern. So when they did the work, when Linkinger did the work, they put the lights that I put temporarily on the bumper that was back here. They made panels and they put all the lights in this, which I'm happy about. So here's where the changes happen. So this is one of the factory license plate light that would go into the bumper. That would be like here. It's no longer getting a bumper like that. So right here, kind of see, is a Deutsch 2-pin connector that I plugged in for the license plate light. It comes up over, goes through the panel there and on the other side. Cheap LED license plate light off of Amazon is like $9. 2-pin connector, done. Bada bing, bada boom. This right here is a sort of trailer light splitter, and I bought it from Reese, but Reese is now out of business, so you can't get this. But I believe Kurt makes one like this. Now, one thing I have to state, this truck being a 98, and I believe this is the same, this wiring setup is the same from, I believe, 93 to 98. This is a 98 truck. This truck has a dedicated turn signal. That's what those are. The 99s and newer all the way to 2011 all have the turn signal part of the brake light. So they do dual functions. For some reason, they put a dedicated turn signal from like 93 to 98 on these trucks. So I'm pretty sure the wiring is the same between those years. I'm not 100%. Let me know in the comments on your model and if they are the same as what I'm about to present. So I'll try and find the Kurt part number to get this splitter. But if you see it on your screen, you'll see it. If you don't, then I didn't find one. Right here, this gray connector is basically the factory connector to make an adapter to a 4-flat. That's also from Reese. Again, Reese is out of business. I'm trying to find a replacement from Kurt. I believe they still make them. But basically, the black connector here is for all the taillights on the factory harness, which is down there. That is your factory harness that plugged into that plug and then went through the frame rail back here and up to the bed sides when it was on a factory vehicle. This harness I'll keep for later, for when I actually put bed sides on, to put the lights out there. But for right now, that connector, and then you have turn signal, brake light, reverse light, both sides. I don't want to destroy that. It's a good harness there. So what I did is this splitter I got because I cut the junction box that turned the brake light and turn signals into the same light for when it would go to a 4-flat. Cut that off. Got these dot lights, so they have brake light, tail lights, and turn signals all in one. So wire that into there. Now, the biggest problem I have is this splitter doesn't have reverse light split off of it. So right here you see is I have a pigtail. This is I think the male pigtail. And I'll put the part number and the picture up on your screen to see that. This is the male pigtail that plugs into this T, which sort of extends it a little bit. And right now, as you can see, it is only wired into the reverse lights that I have on the back here. These little rock lights are my reverse lights. That's what I use. These wires are all the left and right brake and tail / running lights for if I choose to use this to make more lights somewhere, or I possibly will unplug this and modify this harness to then plug in these reverse lights and also use it for going to bed size. So this is what I would call temporary permanent. Kind of a stupid way to put it, but I call it temporary permanent because I temporary kind of did this for in the future use, so it's easy to unplug and change out and maybe put this on or modify it. But going to the pin out of this plug right here, so this is what I have written down. It should be, I believe it's the same from 93 to 98. I'm not 100%. Anyone who can confirm this in the comments, please do so, and I'll pin it. The male connector, which is that one there, that is the part number for a pigtail, which is basically the plug-in, and you get the bundle of wires that you can connect them to. And this is the pin out of that pin out. So you got your keyways there, and then that's the locking tab. So if you look at it from just looking into the plug down there, I'll put a picture up. When you look into that plug can hold 8 wires, but only 6 are used. As you can see, 2 of them are crossed out. So you see my list here, I already went through and ran, see which was what. So the tail marker, number 1, that would be that pin kind of at the end of my finger. That is your running lights, marker lights, whatever you want to call them. That for night. Pin 2, which is the one right next to it at the top there, is your dedicated right turn signal. 3 is your ground. Now technically, the way I have this truck now is with the battery. I have a battery cable going right to the frame. So technically, the ground here, I could just take this off and just ground it to here, and then everywhere there's a ground on one of these lights, I could just ground it right to one of these bolts if I wanted to, because everywhere metal on this truck is technically a ground. I don't have to have a dedicated ground, but I'm using it for the reverse lights right now because, well, and these lights because of the T there. So There is a dedicated ground back here for the lights that comes from the cab. So when you look at this pin out, 3 is the ground, 4 is not used, 4 is not used, 5, which is the left turn, which is at the end of my pinky, dedicated left turn. 6 is the reverse lights, which right now that's what this is set up. So you can see you got red and ground, whereas here you just have both black wires. I only pay attention to the pin out of the connector. It's dedicated, telling me which one is which. Wire color, it's annoying to deal with having the same wire color, but it is what it is. So pin 6 is the reverse lights, and pin 7 is the brake lights. That's how I have it numbered and how I have it listed. As you can see from the right, Dorman is the female pigtail number, which, if you haven't known already, this plug is literally the same plug as the one for the fuel pump way over there at the end of my finger somewhere that I have to extend. I have the pigtail for that to extend the wires for the fuel level and the fuel pump, which is going to be a separate video of wiring that into the factory harness of this truck. But so it's split off here for the brake lights and tail lights. I have this plug here. The excess wires are taped off right now and going to just be zip tied up along with this right here for temporary reasons in case in the future I choose to change it some way, shape, or form. And I'm going to keep this for my documentation of the wiring pin out. Hopefully this helps somebody with maybe wiring their own taillights in or changing the rear taillights. It's very simple because everything gets the ground, and you have your dedicated left and right turn signal, the marker, tail lights, reverse lights, and brake lights. Very simple. It was just using test light to probe it as I had the vehicle powered up. Mostly the vehicle is done for power systems. So give you kind of like right here, disconnect. It's on the power side. I'll go over the power wiring. You can hear it. Got the SCT. That's for something for later. So as you can see, front for the time being. This is the way it's set up. You can turn on the lights, tail marker, you get all that. So that's all set up. The one thing you will have to do is, with having LED tail lights back there for the turn signal, you need to change this flasher, which I have a picture, which is underneath behind this panel. You need a LED flasher. This is the factory flasher. Can't use it with any LEDs. It just makes the flasher freak out because the LEDs don't have enough load to actually make it flash. So that's where you get the emergency lights on. Those bulbs are there temporary for making sure wiring wise. And you have those back there. The 4 flat works, everything's wired correctly. I can shove this for the brake lights. Oh, it didn't freaking stay. So, and it didn't stay for very long. Ah, okay. Oh, come on. So, yeah, brake light there. Brake light there. We can turn off the lights, put it in reverse. Doesn't see, reverse lights, pretty bright. Take the brake off. And that's pretty much it for that. You can see the brakes are off, lights are off, and just reverse lights are on. So it is set up factory. Okay. Just set up factory. And right now I'll just disconnect that. So that's pretty much it. Kind of simple, kind of self-explanatory. Hopefully that pinout that I made there will help you. That's basically how I have the pigtail ends and kind of just butt connectors slash heat shrink slash electrical tape the wires together, have it routed this way, and it's very removable, friendly with the plugs and connectors. Everything's organized and it looks like factory. So these will get tied up here. These two are not used, so I'll tie them up out of the way just in case I might need to use this pigtail for something later. And that's basically how the rear lights are going to be set up for the time being until I get bedsides on them. So that's pretty much the rear lights, how they are set up, how it's going to run for now. This is also set up so for a small trailer if I need to. But this is the pinout for that connector. Hopefully this helps. I would like to see if people can help me out with to make sure it's these year ranges. I'm pretty sure it is the same for like 95 to 98, but I'm not 100% with 93, 94 of the Rangers that have a dedicated turn signal light on the back side of the bed. So let me know in the comments. Hopefully this helps. I want to do more of just dissecting the factory wiring and using it to my advantage without completely redoing everything. So that's how it is. That's how I have mine set up. It's the way I'm going to leave it, and I can easily change it in the future because I have this information and make my own harness. I wanted to be able to try and put out much information as possible for factory wiring, to utilize the wiring to my advantage and make it look and function as factory. So for right now, this is the way I'm having it set up. Everything's set up, everything works. Until I get the bedsides on, I'm going to store this harness. So